titled Evolving Beyond AMI to the Utility Customer Nexus. A few housekeeping notes we'd like to mention. For best results in viewing this presentation, we recommend using a wired, high-speed internet connection, as wireless connections can be unpredictable. If you cannot get good audio out of your computer speakers, we have a telephone dial-in that you may use under the audio section. Following the presentation, we recommend, we will be having a brief question-and-answer period. You may submit your questions at any time for that session using the interface on your screen. Today's speakers are Bill Johnson, Manager of Electric Operations and Technology for Kansas City Board of Public Utilities, and Rob Hartway, Director, Technical Sales and Solution Architect of Elster Solution. Now I'm happy to turn the floor over to our first speaker and moderator, Kathleen Wills-Davis, Editor-in-Chief, Intelligent Utility. Kathleen, welcome to the event. You have the floor.
Thank you, PJ. And I want to echo PJ here and welcome our audience to today's webinar on evolving beyond AMI to the utility customer nexus. As PJ mentioned, I'm Kathleen Wills-Davis, and I'm Editor-in-Chief of Energy Central's Intelligent Utility magazine, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's discussion. Next slide, please, PJ. Now, we've all known AMI a long time in the power industry. Well, if you didn't know AMI, then perhaps you knew its predecessor, AMR, and that's been around since the mid-'80s, really, since the time of the Breakfast Club and big hair bands. But like music and movies, AMI has certainly evolved since then. We were once impressed with one-way info that kicked in once in a while and helped figure load around the edges of things at peaks and in valleys. Now AMI is mostly two-way in the U.S., and that U.S. has a lot of smart meters to choose from. According to the Edison Foundation's Institute for Electric Innovation, at the heat of summer last year, there were 50 million smart meters deployed in the U.S., covering over 43% of American homes, up from 46 million smart meters a year before. And a few years ago, AMI was a peripheral industry concept. Now it's the heart of the smart grid, of big data, of smart cities, of the Internet of Things for the power industry. None of those next big things would be remotely possible without AMI. AMI continues to adapt with these new interconnected concepts. It's getting more robust, more resilient, more flexible, and a whole heck of a lot smarter, as it will have to be. Old school in-use utility customers are getting a whole lot smarter too when it comes to energy. There is a lot of untapped potential with AMI, both on the customer-facing side and the utility back-end. With all these new smart meters in the mix, how do we make the most of all that data coming in? How do we run it through systems and parcel it appropriately? How do we use it to become more efficient, to reduce truck rolls, to combat energy theft, to think about distributed energy integration, and generally to get down to the nitty-gritty details of evolving our utilities along with our smart meters and the other bits and pieces of AMI. Our speakers today are going to talk about just that, how to get on board with the AMI evolution with an example of one utility's programs, concepts, and planning for the future. We're delighted to have Rob Hartway with Elster Solutions and Bill Johnson with the Kansas City Board of Public Utilities on today's webcast. And thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Before we hear from our speakers, let me do just a moment of housekeeping, as PJ did. Our presentations today will be followed by a question and answer period. If you have a question for one or both of our speakers, you can ask it anytime by typing it into the question box on your screen, and we'll gather those up for the end of the program. But again, feel free to ask them while they are still fresh in your mind. Our first speaker today is Bill Johnson, Manager of Electric Operations and Technology at the Kansas City Board of Public Utilities. He's worked for the Board of Public Utilities for over 34 years. Throughout his career, he has led many efforts in introducing new technology and upgrading existing electric systems for the utility. Over the past 5 years, BPU has installed a new geographic information system, outage management system, asset management system, substation improvements, and various IT systems thanks to his leadership. Major system improvements include modernizing the T&D network, adding a high-speed fiber network, and an advanced metering infrastructure system. He is the past president for Kansas Municipal Utilities and is a member of APTA and IEEE. Bill, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Next slide, please. I would like to get started by first thanking Energy Central for this opportunity to present here today in this webinar. The first slide really gives a little bit of background information on our utility. Again, we're Kansas City Board of Public Utility. We primarily serve the Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County area with electric and water services. And what you see on this slide is a little bit of information on our service area, number of electric and water meters, and some of our peak periods with electric generation and with water production. Ironically, our peak, like probably many communities, have peaked right before the recession, and we did hit an all-time high around 2007. Next slide, please. We have traditional residential customers just like many electric and water utilities. The one thing that separates us from many other municipal utilities, especially our size, is the footprint around our industrial customers and our continuing to emerge commercial customers. We have still rich manufacturing facilities throughout our service area, General Motors being our largest power user. But we do also have a lot of industry tied to the housing market, like Owens Corning, Certainty, that makes fiberglass products, Owens and Procter & Gamble. Commercial development continues to evolve. We're moving slowly from manufacturing to more retail and sales in that type of sector. And we've landed some pretty good jewels in Sporting Kansas City, being a Major League Soccer facility that moved into our community a few years ago. The Kansas Speedway relocated a racetrack here, which led to further development in 2 shopping centers, Schlitterbahn Water Park, and many other businesses that continue to move into the western part of our city. We also have some revitalization in our downtown and in our other parts of our urban core. So our city continues to get reshaped. This gives you a little bit of representation of the customer segmentation that we do serve. And again, federal buildings and state buildings are also occupy our city because we do primarily serve an urban environment. Next slide, please. Looking at some of the customers, I put this slide in primarily to look at the percent revenue based on these customer classes. Our industrial customers make up about 27% of our load in terms of revenue that we take from these customers. Commercial is about 36%, and residential is about 23%. Most of the other is in all the other combined school, lighting services, and things like that that bring revenue and into the utility. And these are just percentages based on electric usage. Next slide. When we started into our concept of building smart grid projects all across our utility, we set out on what the overall smart grid vision needs to look like. So this is simply a representation. I won't go too deep into explaining everything in this slide, but it is really modernizing the electric grid all the way from our generators down to our customers, taking full advantage of the rich fiber and wireless communication systems that we've built. And of course, we've also put an AMI project in the middle of all that, and we have completed both the full electric and water deployment. We're also pushing part of this AMI type data to our customers, and we're currently engaging with our customers more and more as we continue to build out, continue to move down this road of smart grid, trying to integrate our customers more and more with what the utilities is trying to establish. Next slide. So starting with that vision, I'm going backwards with some of the investments that BPU has already made. Again, we have most of our facilities wired with fiber or with our own fiber network. A lot of our street lights, which we maintain, a lot of our city and county buildings are also wired up, so we have reached well into our community and connected a lot of facilities. We've also built our own private Wi-Fi system across the utility, and both for AMI purposes and then the next steps of moving farther in the distribution automation for both electric and water. After putting in all the AMI systems, and even prior to doing that, we've done a lot of work with our back office IT integration systems, certainly putting in the AMI, but putting in the meter data management system and doing a lot of smart integrations across our entire IT footprint. So part of that is, doing integration to an enterprise service bus, and then going back to our core enterprise systems and making sure that we're making better use of that and continuing to push forward upgrades and putting in the things that our users need to use to make ourselves a better utility. Some of the things that we've done out on the customer end is put in about 4,000 programmable thermostats. We've introduced a net metering policy where we're allowing customers to participate in that by putting solar panels on their homes, and BPU is buying back their surplus energy. And we're also continuing to work on our water utility by putting in more and more automation through not only on the production side, but throughout all of the pumping stations and throughout our distribution system. Next slide, please. Like any plan, when we decided to put our business plan together, we wanted to get out and understand better what was going on in the technology realm of AMI and other smart grid projects that we wanted to introduce. And part of what we did was put together a full business plan for what we wanted to try to achieve in the short term and in the long term. Part of that was also engaging with multiple vendors to see what was out there, and technology is changing at a fast pace, so we wanted to also bring in some outside consultants to help us understand how fast the industry is moving, and then where do we get in, and then how do we capture all the benefits we want to try to achieve as a utility. Three primary objectives that we selected was we wanted to improve utility operations, we wanted to interact with our customers, and we wanted to be able to make investments that we can integrate and continue to grow into the other business decisions we're making down the road. But improving utility operations meaning reducing the amount of truck rolls, as previously stated. Also doing a better job with collecting outage information and being able to detect leaks on our water system, and being able to take meter information and improve our meter to cash operations. Once getting past that, our focus was going more into distribution, electric and water operations, and making improvements there. The customer outreach program is to being able to push information to our customers and become more interactive with them. And we have been able to achieve many of these plans that we've set out, and we're continuing to try to maximize our benefits around that. Next slide. So since we made our investment, those investments have certainly made our utility more aware and our customers more aware of the things that we need to do to support our customers. It's tied the utility closer to our customers. We have data that we are using today that we've never had before, and we're coming up with more and more ways every day to try to make the best use of this information, both with the idea of improving utility operations and giving our customers information that they can make better decisions around in terms of how they use both their electric energy and the water that they use from our utility. Next slide. Some of the things that we've been able to accomplish is prior to AMI, we had some pilot projects out there, but we were primarily walk-by, drive-by utility, collecting meter reads once a month, and then that ended up being the customer's bill. And there was no way for us to communicate with the customer during that 30-day period as to what they did any period between the time we read and the time that they were billed. Now we're able to collect that information daily. In fact, we're collecting it 4 times daily, and we can collect it over a 15-minute interval for electric and hourly interval reads for water. That becomes useful for the different customer classes. You know, for residential, their needs may be a little bit different than the industrial or commercials, but by being able to collect it, meter reads around these intervals, I think we're able to satisfy most of what our customer request has been today, and all of our customer classes are being able to take use of this and then put it into their everyday decision making and make their operations, whether it's their home, household expenses, or how they automate and run their business. They're making better decisions around how they consume electric energy every day and water. We do have real-time monitoring across our network, and we're taking full advantages of that. We no longer have to go out and manually disconnect the electric meter. We can certainly do that from our back office, from our customer service area. In fact, we're currently disconnecting about 250 electric meters daily. A good payback for us in this has been we're able to do those 250 disconnects in about 20 minutes using one person and a partly automated system to get through that every day. In the past, it used to take about 4 people to manually go in and do that remotely, and it took a lot more truck rolls to do that when we were still rolling trucks prior to starting our AMI project. So that's a huge cost savings for the utility. Those cost savings are being passed on to the customers, and we're both reaping benefits from that. The system is providing excellent data collection. We're getting constantly 99.8 of our reads coming in, and sometimes higher than that, as opposed to 2010 prior to putting in a full system rollout of AMI. We were good to get 93.9%, 94%. We're also able to communicate with our customers on leaks behind the meters, and we've got some letters into our utility from customers for that outreach process, with letting them know that there is a suspected leak on their premise that has turned up to be positive most of the time, and quite frankly, the customers didn't know that they had leaky plumbing on their side. And what we did do by reaching out to them is possibly avoided them having high water bills because they were able to take action based on the phone calls we made to them. Like most people would probably suspect, most of our cost savings came in the form of transitioning our meter readers and some of our field personnel to other areas in the utility. We're a heavily unionized utility, and what we sought prior to going into this project is to try to make a place for other employees to go, knowing that there's going to be natural attrition that's going to take place. But we told the union we wouldn't lay off anybody, and we were happily able to accomplish that. So during that period, we relocated 27 employees into other areas around the utility, and we reduced a significant amount of truck rolls on an annual basis. Next slide, please. This graph just primarily shows some of the cost savings prior to AMI around some of the people that I just spoke about. So as you can see, there are tremendous savings, and we continue to look at some soft benefit savings by engaging the customers and doing things that didn't go into this graph. But these are the hard savings that was quantified up through 2013, and we're continuing to reduce our costs through 2014 and well into the future. Next slide, please. So having built that, our outreach program is centered around how do we communicate with our customers on a more real-time basis and when customers engage us. We do go out every other year and do a customer satisfaction research outreach to our customers to try to gather information back on how well the utility is performing. And we do bring in people from every customer class when we do engage with them. We've learned a lot through that, and we've also learned a lot just through other means of communicating with our customers. And because of the ever-changing demographics in our community, and as well as others, that we do have the age generation differences that sometimes present problems, but sometimes present good challenges for us, and coming up with ways of communicating with the long-term serving customers, but also some of our newer, younger customers, because all of them sometimes have different ways they like to have a utility react with them or communicate with them, whether it's being direct mailings for some of the older generations and social media for the younger generations. And we have, by the way, rolled out a social media outreach program for to customers as a way of keeping constant communication with them. Our community continues to change in terms of diversity. We're one of the, if not the most diverse city in the state of Kansas, and one of the more diverse communities in this portion of the Midwest that we reside in. That presents, some social economic challenges, and I gave you a illustration earlier of the 250 disconnects that we currently do every day, and a lot of that goes back to the social economic status of some of our community, of some of our customers. What I didn't mention is some of the other payment arrangements and the other things that our customer service division engage our customers in. So we're taking the information, we're trying to interact better with our customers based on us learning more about how our customers are consuming our product, and we're trying to turn some positive messages around and make them be more energy efficient and provide information back to them that we were not able to do in the past. There is somewhat of a digital divide too between the generations, and again, how we can communicate, how we connect to them through different out messaging, different type of medias that we use. Those are the type of things that we continue to try to learn what our customers actually need and how best to communicate with them. Part of what we're trying to do too is continue to look at customer service, customer satisfaction, and try to improve those numbers. And I think we're on the right track. Over the last several years, customers have been receptive to some of the things that we're doing, and we have gotten some positive feedback through all the efforts that we're making through rolling out more technology and engaging our customers. Next slide, please. One way that we're engaging them is through our customer portals. Prior to AMI, we had a customer portal that primarily gave the customers the ability to go in and read their bill and make payments online. Now we've got a customer portal that comes out of our meter data management system that gives them a look at their energy and water usage, plus it gives them the cost of the energy and water that they're using. The good thing about it is they can look at it on a daily basis, and they can slice and dice the data down to a 15-minute interval, hourly, daily, or however they want to look at it. But they can also look at how they're using utility services anytime through that billing period. So they're not having to wait at the end of the billing cycle to see what they've used. They can look at it every day along the way, which has been good for those that are using it. And we're in the process of rolling it out, making it available to more people than what we have today, and continuing to try to put messages in there, energy efficiency tips and things like that, that will go to help make better use of this customer portal that we have in front of them. Next slide, please. One thing that AMI has been able to do is give us a better look at how our customers are using utility products again, and also it puts us in a stronger position for helping the customer to see when they go out and make repairs on their homes and participate in some of the energy efficiency programs that the utilities offer. How well has those investments returned to them, and have they actually made a difference, and can they see some type of return on those investments when they go and participate in home winterization programs and things of that nature. Utility has been pretty good at supporting energy audits. In fact, from 2010 through now, and looking out to 2017, we've actually got energy efficiency programs in place to where we're trying to support about almost 1,200 homes in our community with some type of energy efficiency audit and a weatherization program to help them repair some of their older homes, and then, of course, with the information that we're providing to them, hopefully they can get some benefit and look at whether those programs have been successful for them or not. And of course, for us, as we continue to look for ways of helping our customers to become smarter users, which helps us in our purchase power agreements and things like that, not having to pass on those added costs to our customers when we're making decisions about generation and purchasing energy to help support our native load here. We're working with our unified government, city, county government on some energy efficiency projects, trying to help them continue to be smart users of electricity. They are a huge load on our system, and the more and better dialogue we can have with them means that we can get better return there as well. Next slide, please. Some of the analytics that we have today cover some of the things that we've talked about. Some of the things we're still working on is trying to improve revenue assurance. There were some things that we currently have. There's ways of detecting revenue assurance, but there's things we're continuing to work on to reduce some of the false predictions that we sometimes run into, and that's not every day, but you know, there are some things we're trying to catch a little bit early on. We're also looking at pushing the state farther from meter to cash into our electric and water distribution. So we're gathering information and have gathered information to do transformer loading across parts of our city, and we're continuing to build that type of data and pour that into some of our modeling tools so that we can do more of that across our city. We haven't completed that type of analysis across our entire electric system yet, but we have segmented parts of it, and we are starting to look at some of the transformer loading and using that for power flow studies as we continue to build out electric service extensions and go back to some of our older neighborhoods to see how well our systems were designed in the past, and that we need to go back and do any type of retrofit programs with the aging infrastructure in other parts of our city. We're also taking our communication system and trying to leverage that towards more distribution, monitoring, fault locators, capacitor controls, things along that, and communication system we build in concert with the AMI, knowing that we want to leverage that for other smart grid projects, and we have started deploying other devices on our system, and we'll continue to do that. On the water side, we're able to aggregate a lot of data through our pumping stations, throughout town, and we're able to aggregate data through our customer endpoints. Our unaccounted for water is a little bit higher than what we want to see. In fact, it's higher than what most water utilities want to see as a national average. So we're trying to come up with ways of reducing that unaccounted for water through main leaks. And some of our plumbing in some of our older parts of town is in that 80 to 100-year-old age group. So we've got some pretty robust programs on replacing that, but if we use AMI data to locate leaks, it certainly helps us prioritize where repair jobs need to go and in future budgets, and help us identify the more critical areas that we need to prioritize and try to reduce the levels that we're at today. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. From a utility management standpoint, the type of having the type of data that we can push up and down our utility management provides us with better clarity, better decision-making tools, better things to see and track on what's going on across our utility business, better to engage how we need to make better decisions, whether it's how we operate the utility or how we need to outreach. What do we need to do to close the gap in our communication with our customers? And a lot of our larger users are constantly tasking us with the responsibility of keeping their costs or our costs down so that they can continue to be viable, have viable operations in our community, because many industrial customers are in a very competitive mode with other areas around the country and with manufacturing facilities outside of this country. So we're sensitive to that, and those are continual dialogues that happen every so often when we meet. And the more we can understand about what they're doing and continue those type of dialogues, the better we can continue to serve them. We've got some internal business intelligence tools that we're also using to make ad hoc reports, in addition to asking some of our vendors to do more type of analytic, provide more analytic type information back to us. So those efforts continue to evolve as well. Next slide, please. Next steps, because of some of the social economics, because of some of the age of some of our customers, because of students coming in and out of our city. We have the University of Kansas medical facilities here, and there's students that come in and out. We are looking at different ways of serving our community through prepaid services. So we've selected a vendor. We are in design mode right now, and our plan is to roll out prepaid services to part of our community by the end of the second quarter. So we're well on our way with building this type of integration into our systems and providing the services out. Continue to try to make use of our meter data analytics. Again, we're engaging our customers. We're trying to take good use and make good use of our own in-house BI tools to try to make better use of our data. And we're also looking at possibly a street light monitoring program with the communication system we built, and continue to look at leak detection throughout our city. So, I mean, these are all things that continue to evolve. Some of them are things we're just getting into. Some of them are things that we are well underway with completing. So, and I imagine the list will continue to evolve over the years as we continue to leverage the information that we're bringing in off our AMI system. Next step, please. So that concludes my part of the presentation. I will turn it back over to Kathleen, and thank you again.
Thank you, Bill. Very detailed and informative look at what Kansas City is doing right now. Just as a reminder to our audience, our presentations today will be followed by a question and answer period, and I know we have a few already. But if you have a question for either of our speakers, you can ask at any time by typing it into the question box on your screen, and we'll gather those up for the end of the program. Our final speaker for this webcast is Rob Hartway, Director of Technical Sales and Solution Architecture for Elster Solutions. He has 23 years of electric utility industry experience and has spent the last 16 years designing and deploying smart meter networks and demand-side management programs, as well as systems including demand response and pricing. These projects have incorporated a variety of metering, communication, and system technologies in combination with innovative commercial and go-to-market strategies. After obtaining his master's degree in public utility regulation, Rob began his career with utilities, holding multiple cross-functional roles, including forecasting, regulatory affairs, rate design, integrated resource planning, product development, strategic planning, sales, and marketing. He's also worked with smart grid solution providers, service providers, consultants, and system integrators. He has a full end-to-end understanding of AMI, DSM, and leveraged use of meter data for smart grid applications. Rob, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Can everybody hear me okay? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I think we're hearing you.
Okay, perfect. Well, the first thing I realize is people say I ramble. I realize I apologize. I gave you way too long of a bio. But
it was such a great bio.
So thank you. So let's see if I now have control. Yes, okay. Well, so certainly enough about me. I do work at Elster Solutions, and just a teeny bit about Elster for those that don't know. Elster has been in the utility business for well over 100 years, providing electric, gas, and water meters globally for, well, electric and water, or, well, let's just say over 100 years. We are a global company. I work out of the North America headquarters out of Raleigh, and while officially called the Electricity Business Unit, it is the Smart Grid Solutions Business Unit. So, but enough about Elster. So, as we're talking here, really, at the end of the day, what it is, or the beginning of the day, I should say, it's our traditional utility business model is changing. There's no question. There's no stopping it. It's changing for many reasons, and both internal and external. Starting with external, there's if you look at the market and consumers driven, there are just simply put, there are things happening in the industry. There's no point in fighting these things. Trying to fight it or address it slowly just means that you won't be ready when it hits you. Certainly some examples, and these are just some examples. There's no way I can list all the factors that are driving this transformation. But a number of industry and technology changes, just the speed of technology and distributed generation, distributed energy storage, electric vehicles, but also regulatory or policy, both from evolving standards and evolving mandates for efficiency and or emissions reductions, but also the customers themselves, and what they want, what they expect, and what they demand. And if that wasn't enough, obviously over on the utility side, there are business and operational drivers as well. Certainly, we're all aware that utilities are struggling with an aging workforce as they get older and begin to retire, and they have to be replaced with a new workforce. And how to bring those people on and bring them up to speed. But there's also the fact that we're also managing with aging infrastructure and trying to continue to get improved operational quality and reliability out of infrastructure that continues to get older, and at the same time trying to make sure that we can deal with that and help manage some of these new technologies like distributed energy resources. At the same time, if you go into the back office, legacy systems, we have certainly plenty of examples of systems that are 20+ years old, and these legacy systems, and the older they get, the more costly and complex they are to try to integrate them in with the newer systems and their technologies. And of course, bottom line, utilities are always trying to and needing to drive continual financial improvement. So how do we deal with this? Okay, so hence smart grid. The grid must be smart, but really what is the smart grid? The simple answer is there is no one answer. There is no one single definition of a smart grid. And that's okay. Simply, I think what we can do is we can look at it and what are the various different smart grid applications or smart grid components. Well, certainly people will agree that AMI is a part of the smart grid. And AMI obviously needs to be able to continue to provide the same functionality and capabilities of traditional metering or revenue metering, but also bring in new capabilities and new services. Of course, remote connect, disconnect, only one example. But also bring in a bunch of additional advanced metering capabilities, whether that be power quality metering or net metering, etc. Then there's load management, certainly another component of the smart grid and another direct customer touch role of the smart grid. I should probably be starting at the bottom and moving up, but just the ability to reach out, create a greater customer awareness, customer education and engagement. Being able to then improve, as Bill had mentioned, improve the way we provide energy efficiency conservation through these tools and this information. Load control, of course, load control has been around, direct load control has been around for decades, but the way in which we can implement load control and manage and operate load control is even greater now. And then demand response as well, a much more interactive, customer-driven way of managing customer load. But then also moving into these emerging technologies that I had mentioned, and this is where we start to blend from AMI towards into the smart grid. Once we start bringing in these solar panels, wind generation, energy storage and batteries, electric vehicles, microgrids, all of these things that are coming, that expands upon it. And of course, other grid modernization activities and projects, and Bill had mentioned some of these as well, but leveraging your AMI investment and smart grid investment to really extend the SCADA beyond the substation, to be able to provide more automation along distribution, DA, improving reliability and operational efficiencies. But then going beyond that, from smart grid even into perhaps even smart city, bringing in lighting and lighting control, environmental and structural monitoring, and then pushing from smart grid or smart city even to some terms that you'll hear smart community. And I'll give a little shameless plug to IBM for their fantastic tagline of Smart Planet. But these applications, and this again, as I'd mentioned, only a subset. As we've mentioned, these applications, there's direct customer-driven applications, whether that be a customer portal, load control, prepaid programs, etc., as well as a lot of other applications we had mentioned that are grid-related and operationally related, but still indirectly provide a lot of benefit in the way we engage our customers and provide services to our customers. But applications alone, we don't put applications in the field just for the applications. What we're trying to do is we're trying to drive business objectives with those. Ultimately, for example, really providing customer choice, lowering their bills, improving their customer satisfaction, helping remove carbon footprint, etc. Obviously, a lot of the indirect objectives as well. And like I said, I don't intend to go through them. Bill had gave a great example of reducing field visits through the implementation of AMI. Obviously, that has both direct and indirect benefits. You know, it helps improve and speed customer service, saves money both for the customer and for the utility. Improving safety, the less trucks on the road, the less accidents, the less insurance and reinsurance claims. Ultimately, that also helps drive down ultimate cost to the customer as well. And then even we can have these social environmental benefits of reducing carbon footprint from less fuel burned. One more. Oops. Okay, but those applications require data, lots and lots of data. So no pun intended, I guess it's a utility joke, but really the data is the fuel to drive these applications. It's a key input. Here I'm just listing just a subset of the data. This is really kind of data that you get out of your AMI system, but it's so much more data in such higher resolution, much closer to real time than was available before, and really provides the value to drive these various different applications. As I had mentioned, that's just an example of AMI data. There's other sources of data, whether that be weather data, demographic data, behavioral data, and a lot of other data streams and data sources that help drive these applications. And of course, to get the data, you need devices to generate and bring this data to you. As I showed you there on the left, those are kind of data sources from electric meters, but there's also water and gas meters. You'll be on that to the next level, devices in the home, switches, smart plugs, etc., programmable thermostats, and then intelligent electric devices along the line, or even connecting to other sensors, as I had mentioned, with structural and environmental sensors. Okay, so data, lots of data. I like to refer to it as the data deluge. Loads of data from everywhere all the time. So the simplest way of saying it, pervasive data from metering and sensors coming in very, very quickly. But data alone provides little value. We must drive up what I'll call the data value chain. What we need to be able to do is we need to take that data and quickly and easily collect, verify, organize, and format that data such that we can extract information. We have to make it useful. So once we've done that, then we can analyze it, correlate it, et cetera, and derive intelligence through analytical tools. So this data going to different places and different tools. And ultimately, we do that so that we can drive decisions, make smarter decisions, make decisions more quickly, and as we like to refer, actionable intelligence. So that's the data value chain, because ultimately what we're trying to do is deliver value. So going back to the smart grid, I will remain that I will let other people create their own definition of smart grid, but there are a couple of must-haves. Obviously, in order to do what we had just talked about, we have to have an interoperable network, or interoperable networks more accurately, with a mix of multi-purpose intelligence. Key here, gone are the days, or gone should be the days, of single-purpose devices and single-purpose communications. Hence, because of that, we need stronger and more robust communications than were traditionally available, allowing us to get that data and take action. Of course, in order to get that data and take action, we need more flexible and more powerful analytical tools. And then lastly, a nice little plug for our IT and security folks. We need to make sure that it remains secure. Okay. But that alone, as I mentioned, what we need to do is we need to focus on the benefits. Applications and objectives are fine, but what are we really trying to do? We're trying to drive value. Now, what we also need to do is we need to make sure that we look at it much more holistically. So we need to look at it both internally from a utility operator standpoint as well as an upper management standpoint. We need to look at it as well externally, both community leaders, whether that be regulators, city leaders, or community action agency groups, and then the end customer. I will admit on putting this slide together, I committed an epic fail. I wanted to tell you how you need to focus on the benefits, and I didn't list the benefits. I listed objectives. So I apologize. But for example, even just looking up here, as we had mentioned about reducing truck rolls, reducing tamper and theft, and improving upon outage restoration, those are great. But really what we're doing here is we're trying to do delivery quality, service quality, improved safety, and et cetera. Coming over to the utility managers, that's all fine. But really what they're trying to do, they're trying to save money and do things better so they improve their financial strength and take that investment and then improve to the next part of their business operations. Be able to better prepare the company for the future, improve value to all stakeholders, not just investors but also customers. I'm going to jump forward for just a second. So this change is coming, and how do we deal with it? So how do we extract this benefit from these systems and achieving these objectives? Well, it started off just with changing the way we do things, all the way at the very, very beginning, changing the way we do planning and analyzing, using this data and knowledge that we've gained in these new analytical tool sets to be able to faster and more effectively and more accurately plan and analyze. From there, be able to improve the way we communicate. We now have new and additional channels of communication. We also have more information and knowledge in which we can communicate to people. This then also helps us sell and sell better. Now we can focus more on selling the value of the product and the service with more options. It improves the way we deliver. Obviously, we had mentioned a bunch of various different operational efficiencies. We can improve the way we provide support, both operational support through the visibility and more real-time understanding of what's going on, but also customer support, both through the tools and the information and knowledge. It also helps us to report, which is great. Report back to our customers, report up to management, report to regulators. And it also helps us train, as I'd mentioned about the aging workforce and needing to bring new people into a new environment. And they're going to require new skill sets. And ultimately, this then cycles back to the perpetual cycle of improvement here. I'm going to start with just one example of how this can be done. Obviously, I wish I could address all of them, but so just taking customer engagement and load management suggestions that we have. First, always plan for end-to-end management. What we mean by that is for example, starting with customer enrollment, how we reach out and enroll those customers into the programs. And there's plenty of tools that also help us do that. In the case of load management, being able to then forecast that load, or I should say really load reduction forecasting, knowing how much I need and where I can get it and what reliability it is. Being able to go out and to communicate to those customers and notify those customers through these multiple channels that we had mentioned. The ability now to optimize and adjust, should we, in the case of a load management, if we're not getting what we're expecting, we can make adjustments both in real time as well as for the next opportunity. And then measure and evaluate as well. So not just operational, did I get the megawatt reduction I was looking at, but also financially and even from a customer service standpoint. Are they happy with it? Leverage the multiple channels of communications that we had mentioned. You now have through AMI, you have another channel into the home with more data. There are ways to also expand upon that with leveraging the customer's broadband. Mobile is great. Smartphones and portals are fantastic. And there's also other media. There's utilities that are even using news services to provide customers of day-ahead notifications of certain programs. And the multi-program approach is also very, very important. Not all customers are the same. You want to have options. You want to make sure that you provide that customer awareness and education. As I had mentioned above, using these engagement tools to really get them involved. Again, different pricing options, very, very, very key. But even in the case of load management with direct load control, being able to move up from more traditional direct load control to ADR, automated direct load control. And even then looking at things like voltage, conservation voltage reduction, where the customer really does not have an active part, but it is an energy efficiency solution that provides benefit to all customers. Another thing, provide the customers with a consistent and or unified experience. You want this to be very user-friendly as well as informative and adaptive, and make it fun. Don't want to be in a situation where the customer tries it once and leaves. Upon that, then you can expand even further, getting into providing a home automation, which only provides a greater level of potential load reductions and savings reductions. And further, they can take that even further into ultimately into PEV or distributed generation. So in conclusion, what I want to say is looking from a customer perspective, I'll speed it up here, but a lot of benefits there, both for the customer and the utility. I realize with only a couple minutes left, I want to close. What we're really trying to do is we're trying to drive value. We're trying to strive for value for all stakeholders. And a couple takeaways here. Find the real value of the data. You can get it from all sorts of places, not just the meters. Data is great, but it's not the goal. Extract meaningful intelligence from this. Drive change, as I had mentioned. Learn, apply, adapt, and embrace throughout the entire organization, across all your business lines, and even into the community. And lastly, focus on the benefits. Look beyond just the direct and immediate. Be persistent and patient. As I said, not just direct, but look at the indirect benefits. Not just internal, but make sure you're looking external. Don't focus just on the quantitative. There's a lot of qualitative benefits that the utility and the customers are going to achieve. And also, probably most importantly, don't focus just on the immediate short term, but also the long term. So with that, I'm going to hand it back.
Thank you, Rob.
Well,
so we have a few minutes that we're going to do a couple of questions, not too many, but we do have some in the pot, so I'm going to jump right in. And the first one is for Bill. And one of the audience members would like to know what was the impetus for doing these sort of AMI upgrades in smart grid infrastructure? Was it regulatory, a focus on customer service, a focus on operational needs, or a mixture?
It was a mixture. It was mostly focused on customer service needs and operational needs. We, like many other utilities, we made an effort to go after some of the stimulus dollars that were out there because we thought we had a good use case for our utility. Unfortunately, we were not successful in getting any federal dollars to build this, but we continue to work on our business case for building AMI, and there was enough in it, enough return on that investment for the utility that we decided to pursue that using our own resources to do it.
Now, a follow-up question for you. So you showed us the smart grid vision on the slide earlier. And what I'd like to know is what changed from your smart grid vision? What adjusted or evolved as you went through the process? What areas became more important? What areas became less important?
The thing that changed, or some of the things that became more important, is getting some of the unknown things identified early. What we didn't know is how complicated it was to work across our distribution system, hanging communication devices. We had some of the aging infrastructure came into focus there with hanging elements on our street lights, distribution posts. Wasn't any major issues, but if you can kind of get that out of the way first, that'll be easy. getting some of the back office integration things done early and having a good concept of what you want to do there. But more importantly, just set out a 3 to 5 year, and 5 year may be too long, but set a 1 to 3 year roadmap exercise in place and identify all your near requirements and long-term requirements, and then just kind of use that as a guide moving forward. Some things are going to change naturally based on a number of reasons, but at least you've got a roadmap to work from.
And I think that's excellent advice, and in fact, that was my next question. So I'm going to ask Rob to follow up on Bill's answer, and what advice would you give utilities who are looking at all of this and just don't know where to start? Where do they start?
Okay, so where to start? Well, that's perfect, because as I had mentioned, there's so many different applications and objectives to achieve. But one way, and every utility is different based on what the most important drivers are internally. But there is the start small and grow, and whether that's, like I said, whether that's starting with much more of the basic, what I'll call basic traditional AMI benefits, just providing more information into your systems, reducing your truck rolls, providing with customers with different pricing options, and then simply growing it from there. Like I said, I wouldn't dare say just one specific approach over others, because everyone have different factors. But smart, small, and grow, but always keep the end goal in mind. When developing a business case, as Bill's company had done, they made sure to look the 3 to 5 and the 10 years forward on what they wanted to do. Be patient. It takes everybody time to adapt to these, and the utility industry is not an industry that is used to quickly changing. So it's not just the people within the utilities, but the customers themselves. And so benefits sometimes take longer than people expect, but they will arrive.
Well, I'm sure they're glad to know that benefits will get there. Thank you. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions today. Once again, many thanks to our speakers, Rob Hartway and Bill Johnson, to our sponsor, Elster, and to our audience for tuning in. You guys are always the most important part of this. PJ, I'm going to turn this back to you for some final thoughts.
Thank you, Kathleen, and thank you, speakers. Great presentation. For our audience, we hope you've enjoyed today's discussion. As you log off, please take a moment to complete our survey. Give us some feedback so we can continue to provide you with quality content. Thank you for attending, and this does conclude today's presentation.